The conference room smells like disinfectant and old coffee. I recognize that smell. It's the same one from the hospital hallways where I've worked for 6 years as a senior clinical coordinator. I sit across from Dr. Nathaniel Hayes, my department chief of 4 years. He's wearing his usual navy blazer, the one that makes him look trustworthy, fatherly. His hands are folded on the mahogany table. His voice is soft, almost gentle, like he's delivering bad news to a scared patient. He's done this before. The calm in his tone is practiced. "Your credentials are suspended," he says slowly, pausing between each word for effect, "pending clarification of certain procedural concerns." I don't understand. I try to speak, ask what he means, but he raises one hand and continues speaking in that infuriatingly calm voice. "We need to be very careful with this. Very careful indeed." His eyes don't meet mine. They focus on the folder in front of him. "There was an incident 2 weeks ago. We're still reviewing the details. I'm sure this is all just a misunderstanding, but we have to follow protocol. No accusation. No specific dates. No mention of what I supposedly did wrong. Just that one word, suspended. Like I'm suddenly a threat. Like I'm suddenly invisible." The other committee members, 4 of them, nod without looking up from their folders. I notice one folder is closed completely. Another has a dark computer screen beside it. No charts. No evidence. No patient records. When I stand to leave on shaking legs, my hospital badge already feels useless in my pocket. The next morning I swipe my badge at the staff entrance. The light turns red. My heart stops. I try again, holding the badge closer to the scanner. Red. Nothing changes. The electronic lock doesn't budge. I'm not getting in. A nurse I trained for 3 months, Angela, good person, smart nurse, walks past me heading into the building. She sees me standing there with my badge in my hand. Our eyes meet for just a second. Then she looks away completely. Someone whispers my name like it's dangerous. Like I'm contagious. I hear it from around the corner. 2 voices I don't recognize. I walk away before security notices me standing there like an unwanted guest. My face is burning. My hands feel cold despite the warm morning sun. At home, I sit in silence for hours, replaying the meeting. Dr. Hayes's voice. That gentle tone. I open my laptop and pull up my saved work schedules. My fingers shake as I scroll through the dates. I wasn't on duty that night. I wasn't even in the city. I was 4 hours away at my sister's house for her birthday dinner. That fact alone should end this. But I can feel it in my stomach. The truth won't matter. Not when lies are spoken so calmly by someone with authority. I file a formal request for my complete activity logs. Hospitals track everything obsessively. Every single login. Every medication order. Every override. The system is paranoid by design. 3 days later, the file arrives in my email from the IT department. It's larger than I expected. Much larger. I open it with shaking hands and start scrolling through the data. Excel spreadsheets. Timestamps. Access logs going back 3 years. My stomach tightens. Then drops completely. There are medication overrides approved under my credentials at times I was definitely asleep in my apartment. Times when I was home, in bed hundreds of miles away at my sister's house. Notes are signed with my electronic signature while my phone location data shows I was miles away. Someone didn't just accuse me of something I didn't do. Someone used me. They borrowed my credentials like a stolen credit card. I checked the metadata carefully. The device ID that approved each override isn't mine. My device ID is different. The device IDs are completely, utterly different. I trace the device IDs backward through the logs. One override, the critical one, links directly back. The device ID traces to the administrative terminal assigned to Dr. Hayes's office on the 4th floor. My hands clench into fists so tight my nails draw blood from my palms. I don't call a lawyer. Not yet. I don't contact the union representative. I don't storm into anyone's office. I don't confront Dr. Hayes. I don't email the committee with accusations. I let the rumor breathe. I let people assume I'm broken by what happened. Defeated. I answer messages from concerned friends with short, neutral replies. I'm okay. Just waiting for clarity. Thanks for checking on me. Inside I'm building something else. Something meticulous. Timeline. Every shift I worked. Every login to the system with timestamps. Every committee email. Every memo about staffing. I realize how carefully this was all staged. Dr. Hayes needed someone specific. Someone competent enough to seem responsible for a major medical decision. But someone quiet enough not to explode. Someone who would accept it and move on. Me. I start downloading backups of everything. Emails, system logs, access records. I save them to an external hard drive before my access disappears completely. I use a computer that isn't registered to my name. I'm careful. Strategic. Silence becomes my shield. My superpower. My weapon. Everyone thinks I'm stunned and defeated. I'm actually collecting, organizing, building a case. I find it buried deep in archived correspondence, in an old backup email folder. A draft email from Dr. Hayes to the compliance department. And sent. A save. Dated 4 weeks before the incident ever happened. Before anyone even knew there would be an incident. It outlines anticipated concerns about my practice. Phrases like pattern of concern and areas requiring oversight. All written in his careful diplomatic language. All written before anything actually went wrong. He planned the narrative before the event even existed. He wrote the story before the incident. He framed the ending before the beginning happened. My hands shake as I read it again. Then a third time. This wasn't about safety. This wasn't about protecting patients. This was about insulation. This was about creating a shield for someone more powerful than himself. Someone higher up was exposed. Someone important made a mistake, and the hospital needed someone else to take the fall, to absorb the blame. Dr. Hayes provided the solution. The perfect solution. Me. I copy the email and save it in multiple places. On my external drive. On a secure cloud server. On a USB drive I hide in my desk. I don't tell anyone. I just wait and watch and collect pieces of the truth that nobody else is even looking for. Drafts don't lie. They reveal thought. They show intention. And this draft showed me everything I needed to know. I start tracing back to the actual patient involved. Redacted in all the public communication. Names removed. Case numbers obscured. But accessible through request logs that I still have authorization to view. I'm careful. I use standard channels. The medical error happened during an understaffed overnight shift. A dangerous oversight that could have killed someone. And that staffing model, the dangerously lean staffing model, was approved by administration despite clear warnings from the floor staff about the risks. Dr. Hayes signed off on that staffing decision personally. Find the email. His signature. His authorization code. If this situation were investigated properly, if someone actually looked at the real chain of causation, it leads directly to him. His decision to cut corners to save money. His choice to understaff a critical unit. Now I see why my name was used. It redirected the blast radius away from him. Away from administration. Away from financial decisions. The hospital needed calm, and Dr. Hayes provided it by offering me up as a sacrifice. I add this to my growing file. Another piece of the puzzle. Another connection. Another thread leading back to him. A former colleague reaches out through a private message on a social platform. Her name is Elena, but everyone knows her as the night shift supervisor who's been at the hospital longer than anyone. She's careful with her words. Cautious. Shared. She noticed something odd the night of the incident. A medication override that was approved remotely. She assumed it was administrative authorization. Standard procedure. But now she's wondering if it was standard at all. I don't ask her to testify. I don't pressure her. I know she's scared of losing her job like I almost lost mine. Instead, I simply ask her to write down what she remembers. Every detail, every timestamp, every observation, and to save it privately somewhere safe. She agrees hesitantly. She's afraid, but she also knows something was wrong. Truth ages well when it's preserved early, when it's documented before memory fades, before pressure gets applied, before people start forgetting what they actually saw. She doesn't know it yet, but she's become part of something bigger than both of us. She's become a witness to justice. The hospital announces an internal review. The scope is narrow, extremely narrow. Only my actions are examined under a microscope. Only my decisions. Only my credentials. Only my practice patterns. Dr. Hayes sits untouched, calm as ever, protected by layers of hierarchy and administrative protocol. The committee asks me to submit documentation of my practice. I submit exactly what they ask for. Nothing more. Nothing less. I watch them miss the pattern because they're not allowed to see it. The committee praises my transparency in their final meeting with me. My future dissolves quietly in their carefully controlled process. That's when I file my own external request. A formal request to the federal government for a full, complete, unrestricted audit trail of all system access and overrides. I don't tell anyone. I don't announce it. I just file the paperwork quietly. The game has changed now. And Dr. Hayes doesn't even know it yet. He thinks he's won. Federal compliance doesn't care about hospital hierarchy. They don't care about Dr. Hayes's calm voice or his reputation. They care about logs. They care about data. They care about evidence and evidence alone. My request for a mandatory data pull is approved within 48 hours. The federal system moves quickly when there's a potential fraud or false credentialing claim. Suddenly, the hospital legal team gets nervous. I can see it in the sudden surge of emails flying between departments. Calls are being made at high levels. Meetings are being scheduled urgently. Dr. Hayes emails me for the first time since the suspension meeting 4 weeks ago. The email is warm. Carefully warm. Concerned. Professional. I hope you're doing well during this difficult time, it says. He suggests we resolve this internally, quietly, without further escalation. He mentions his door is always open. The calm in his tone has a crack in it. A hairline fracture that only I can see because I'm looking for it. He knows what external eyes do to staged stories. He knows what federal auditors find when they start digging into system logs and device IDs and metadata. I don't respond to his email. I just save it as evidence. Another piece of the puzzle. Every login leaves a fingerprint. Every digital action creates a trace. The audit report arrives via secure email. It's precise, clinical, absolutely devastating. Device IDs, P-ranges, timestamps matched against my actual location data from my phone's GPS records. Cross-referenced, verified, triple-checked. The override that everyone blamed on me, the critical override that caused the whole incident, originated from an administrative terminal in the hospital system. That terminal is assigned to Dr. Hayes's office. Not a shared device. Not a borrowed computer. His specific terminal. His assigned machine. The device ID matches perfectly. The IP address traces to his building. The timestamp shows it was approved while he was definitely on campus because his own access badge shows he was in that building at that exact moment. The metadata is impossible to deny. Impossible to rewrite. Impossible to explain away. There's no ambiguity. No gray area. Just cold, mathematical, undeniable proof written in ones and zeros and timestamps. I sit back and breathe. I don't send the report to anyone yet. I don't leak it. I don't call a lawyer. I don't threaten anyone. Just wait. Because timing is everything now. Records are suddenly updated in the hospital system. Clarifications added. Language softened. Timestamps mysteriously adjusted for accuracy. Someone is desperately trying to rewrite what happened. To erase the evidence. The panic is obvious. Too late. The audit took snapshots of the original data. Before any amendments. before any deletions. The federal system preserves everything in perpetuity. Every change creates a log. Every revision is recorded. Every deletion is tracked with timestamps. Amendments signal guilt, not correction. Every audit investigator knows this simple truth. Compliance flags the behavior automatically. Their system is designed specifically to catch exactly this kind of panic editing. It's a red flag that triggers immediate alerts. I receive a neutral email acknowledging discrepancies in the records and requesting my formal statement regarding documentation alterations. Neutral language is the beginning of fear. It's the sound of an investigation shifting direction. It's the sound of weight shifting. I type my response carefully, unemotionally. Just facts, just evidence, just the truth laid bare. I'm invited back to the hospital, not to practice. Not yet, but to observe the review process officially, to provide input on the findings, to be present as a witness to the truth coming to light. The review meeting is scheduled for a Tuesday morning in a different conference room. This one faces the city instead of looking out at the parking lot. A deliberate change. Dr. Hayes isn't there when I arrive. His seat is empty. Someone has actually removed his nameplate from the table. The calm authority he wielded is gone, replaced by nervous energy, uncomfortable silence. Committee members ask different questions now. Real questions, careful questions, questions that imply they finally understand something is seriously wrong. Not questions about my practice, questions about his practices. I answer only what's asked. No emotion, no visible anger or satisfaction. Just facts. Just clarity, just the truth. Facts land harder when they're unthrown, when they're not wrapped in emotion or desperation, when they just sit there cold and true. One committee member, an external auditor from the state, looks at me directly and nods slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement, of respect. The meeting lasts 3 hours. Once they really look, they see everything. Other names, other quiet corrections. Other scapegoats who accepted their guilt years ago and moved on. Other people whose careers were quietly destroyed to protect someone else. I find out later that there are 7 people over 15 years. 7 people. 7 destroyed careers. 7 people who thought they'd made mistakes when really they'd been set up. My case wasn't unique. It was refined. It was a perfected method that Dr. Hayes had used before. Each time he got better at it. Each time the scapegoat was quieter. The hospital's external legal team begins pulling records going back a decade. The same files I'd accessed. The same patterns I'd found. The hospital realizes this isn't an isolated incident. This is a pattern. This is how he operates. This is his system for protecting himself while sacrificing others. The board of directors gets involved. Emergency meetings are being held. Calls with the state medical board. Calls with federal investigators. Silence spreads through the administration building. The kind of silence that comes before major changes. Before resignations. Before consequences. I receive a call from the hospital's external counsel asking me to come in for a confidential discussion. I bring a lawyer with me. Someone who specializes in wrongful termination. The offer they present is substantial, confidentiality included. But I decline. Dr. Hayes stops emailing me. Legal counsel speaks instead. Carefully chosen words. Offers are hinted at discreetly. Settlements suggested with specific dollar amounts. Settlements that include confidentiality agreements. I decline all of it politely, professionally, without anger or spite. This isn't about compensation. This isn't about money. It's about correction. It's about making sure he can't do this to anyone else ever again. I learn that he's lawyered up completely. Multiple attorneys now. Defense team. They're fighting the investigation internally. They're arguing procedural violations. None of it matters. His calm voice finally breaks. The mask finally cracks. I see it in the parking lot one day when I'm coming out of a hospital appointment. He's standing by his car. He sees me. For just a second his face shows something real. Fear. Desperation. Then he gets in his car and drives away without speaking to me. That's when I know it's over. He's felt the ground shift beneath his feet. He's realized that all his careful planning means nothing when the evidence speaks. The state medical board launches a formal investigation. It's public now. The rules change completely. My suspension is formally lifted. The language in the memo is careful. Protective of the hospital. Apologies are absent. There's just clinical language about clarification and full restoration of credentials and expedited reinstatement. But the message is absolutely clear. I was innocent. I was framed. I was wrongfully accused and suspended. The memo goes into my permanent file. Every future employer will see it. Every future credentialing board will see it. I receive a copy framed and sent to my home by the hospital's HR department. A gesture of something. Not quite an apology. Something more formal. I don't return to work immediately. Take time. I let people wonder what comes next. I let the dust settle. Calls come in from other hospitals wanting to hire me. Offers of positions with better pay. I listen to each one. I consider each offer seriously. But I have unfinished business here. His credentials are now under formal review. The same kind of review that destroyed me. The state medical board has opened a formal investigation. The investigation will take months. Maybe longer. But it's happening. The machinery of justice is finally moving in his direction. He faces the same calm tone I faced. The same vague phrasing. The same committee that won't look him in the eye. The same silence he used on me. The investigative process is methodical, thorough, unforgiving. The state board sends him a formal notice. His credentials are suspended pending investigation. Effective immediately. He can't practice. He can't see patients. He can't authorize anything. I watch from a distance. Not with satisfaction. Not with joy. Just with clarity and a certain sense of justice working the way it should. He hires the best medical defense attorneys money can buy. Famous lawyers who specialize in defending doctors against credentialing boards. But expensive lawyers can't change the evidence. Systems are fair when records speak. When evidence is stronger than reputation. When calm lies finally meet cold data. His defense contradicts the logs at every turn. Every excuse is met with timestamps and device IDs. Every explanation fails because the technical evidence is undeniable. The defense crumbles under the weight of evidence. There's no press conference. No scandal splashed across the news. No public humiliation or trial where reporters camp outside. Just administrative consequence. The kind that happens quietly in boardrooms and legal offices where nobody else can see. Leadership values stability. They always do. Instead of a public trial, there's a negotiated exit. Dr. Hayes agrees to resign. His license is suspended for 5 years pending review. But nothing is truly sealed. The truth always finds its way out. Colleagues know. The medical community knows. Other hospitals know. Dr. Hayes resigns, for personal reasons. The announcement comes on a Friday afternoon. A brief memo sent to staff. Efficient. Clean. Sterile. But everyone who works there knows exactly why. The Whisper Network spreads the truth. I see him leave for the last time. He's carrying a box of personal belongings. His pictures are already gone. His nameplate is removed. He doesn't see me watching. Or maybe he does. Maybe he chooses not to acknowledge me. Either way, it's over. The board issues a confidential report detailing their findings. Misconduct. Fraud. The report is extensive and damning. My name is quietly cleared. References corrected in every file. Internal memos amended. My personnel file is updated with a formal statement of exoneration that will follow me through my career like a guardian angel. The hospital issues a statement to all credentialing boards and future employers. I was wrongfully suspended. I was innocent. I was vindicated. Those who avoided me in the hallways now speak softly when they see me. apologetically, some with genuine shame. Angela, the nurse I trained, approaches me in the break room one day. She apologizes profusely for avoiding me. She was scared. She didn't understand. She's relieved to know the truth. I don't need her apologies. I just need the truth restored. And it is. Finally. Completely. Other healthcare facilities start calling me. References from the hospital flow out. Positive reviews. Acknowledgements of my competence and integrity. The damage is being undone piece by piece. But more importantly, people are starting to look at Dr. Hayes differently too. Former colleagues call me. Some want to talk about their own experiences with him. Some want to make sure they're not implicated. The truth spreads. It always does. I walk the hospital hallways with my head up. My badge works again. My credentials are solid. My reputation is being rebuilt. I'm offered my position back. Same hospital. Different leadership. New protocols designed to prevent what happened to me from happening to anyone else. The offer includes back pay, full restoration, complete flexibility in my return terms. I consider it carefully. Not from anger. From pure clarity about what I want and what I can accomplish. Could go somewhere else. Start fresh. Leave this place behind completely. Clean slate somewhere new where nobody knows my name. Some days I seriously consider it. But I didn't survive this to run. I survived it to build something better. Change something. To make sure the system works better for everyone who comes after me. I meet with the new hospital leadership. The new chief of operations. The new director of clinical affairs. The new chief medical officer. Good people. People who understand what went wrong and want to fix it. I tell them my conditions. They listen. They take notes. They ask questions. They negotiate. But ultimately they agree to everything. 'Cause they know. They know how close they came to federal investigation. To public scandal. To the loss of their licenses and careers. They owe me. And they know it. I return with conditions. Detailed transparency clauses built into my employment agreement. Specific oversight mechanisms. System safeguards. Mandatory external audits every single year. I negotiate terms instead of accepting them. I negotiate from a position of strength. The hospital agrees to every single condition without argument. They understand the alternative. I also negotiate for broader systemic changes that will protect all employees. New protocols that prevent any single person from having unchecked authority. Redundant oversight. Multiple approval chains. I come back stronger than I left. Protected. Fortified. More importantly, the entire system changes. Not just for me. For everyone. I walk into the hospital on my first day back as a senior clinical coordinator with new authority. The new chief personally greets me. Staff members welcome me back. But I'm not euphoric. I'm not celebrating. I'm focused on making sure that what happened to me becomes structurally impossible. That Dr. Hayes's methods become impossible to replicate. That's my mission now. Policies change. Quietly. Permanently. New oversight procedures implemented throughout the hospital. Better audit trails installed in every system. Logs that track every administrative action. More transparent credentialing processes where committees must document their reasoning. Regular external reviews by independent auditors. Documentation requirements that make it impossible to rewrite what happened. The changes aren't about me personally. They're about protecting everyone who comes after me. Every future employee. Every future patient. I help design these new systems. The new leadership asks for my input on what safeguards would have prevented the fraud. I serve on the credentialing committee now. Not just as an employee but as an actual voting member. My voice matters. I see Dr. Hayes's name removed from directories. From organizational charts. From the building completely. His office is reassigned. His office number is given to someone else. It's like he never existed here. Except he did. And we're all learning from what he did. The hospital's credentialing board becomes a model for other healthcare institutions. Other hospitals call to ask about our new processes. What started as institutional fraud becomes institutional reform. I understand now what I learned through all of this struggle. Calm deception only works until records breathe. Until someone takes the time to look carefully at the data. Until evidence is given a voice and a platform and someone willing to listen. The quietest lies are the most dangerous. But they're also the most fragile when the truth finally gets a real chance to speak loudly. I think about Dr. Hayes sometimes. Where he is now. What he's doing. I wonder if he's had the same realization. That all his careful planning was defeated by something as simple as device IDs and timestamps. By the fact that he didn't count on someone like me. Someone willing to be quiet and methodical. Someone willing to wait. Someone willing to let the evidence speak instead of shouting accusations. The state medical board's final decision comes down 9 months after he resigns. His license is suspended for 7 years. After that, he'll need extensive ethics training and additional examinations. In this field, that's essentially a career death sentence. 7 years is a lifetime. The field moves on. Opportunities disappear. Feel it now. Not anger. Not vindication. Just a deep, steady sense of rightness. Of justice working the way it should. My credentials aren't just restored. They're annotated with full clearance and a formal note of exoneration that will be visible to anyone checking my record. Every future employer who checks my background will see not that I was suspended, but that I was wrongfully suspended and completely cleared. Vindicated by investigation. Restored with honor. The record is corrected. And records last forever. Digital records especially last forever. They're archived, backed up, preserved in perpetuity. I receive a letter from the state credentialing board. Formal, official, serious. A statement for my permanent file. I also receive a letter from the hospital's board of directors. A formal apology. An acknowledgement. A commitment to preventing it from happening again. I frame this letter and hang it in my office at home. Reminder. A monument to the truth finally working. Patients start specifically requesting me. They hear about what happened. They understand that I was wronged and I came through it. They trust me. They respect me. My reputation is rebuilt. Not just back to where it was, but stronger, more solid, more real. I start receiving speaking invitations. Medical conferences want to hear about what happened, about the systemic failures, about preventing fraud like this. I decide to say yes to some of them, to share my story, to help other institutions avoid mistakes. My silence protected Dr. Hayes. My voice protects everyone else. The letter confirms the official finding, misconduct by Dr. Nathaniel Hayes, falsification of records, abuse of authority, false framing of an employee, breach of fiduciary duty, not an error, not a misunderstanding, misconduct, fraud, a crime, essentially, dressed up in administrative and legal language. Those are the words that will follow him now. Just like he tried to make sure they followed me. The difference is, his words are true. Mine were always lies. The letter is extensive. 15 pages. It details every finding, every contradiction, every piece of evidence that proved his guilt and my innocence. I file it away in a safe place. In a fireproof safe in my home. Where I'll keep it forever. Where I can look at it whenever I need to remember what truth sounds like. Create copies. One for my lawyer. One for my personal archive. One for safekeeping with a trusted friend. The discovery process reveals 17 years of similar patterns. Different victims. Different scapegoats. But the same basic fraud repeated over and over. 7 previous employees had been wrongfully blamed. 7 careers disrupted. 7 people who accepted their guilt and moved on. The hospital reaches out to all of them. Offers restoration. Some accept. Some don't. But the truth is available to all of them now. My case wasn't unique. But it was the one that finally stopped the pattern. That matters. I walk past the same conference room where it all started. The room hasn't changed. Same table. Same disinfectant smell. Same view from the windows. But different outcome. different power dynamic, different truth, different result. I'm not afraid of calm voices anymore. They don't scare me. They don't intimidate me. They don't make me doubt myself. Because now I know something that Dr. Hayes learned too late. Something I'll carry with me forever. Records speak louder than reputation. Evidence speaks louder than authority. Truth speaks louder than calm. And once records start breathing, once they're given light and air and attention, there's no putting them back to sleep. There's no silencing them again. They're alive. They're alive forever. I pass the conference room and keep walking. Not away from what happened, but toward what comes next. Toward building a better system. Toward making sure it never happens again. The truth didn't need me to scream it. It didn't need me to rage or fight or take my case to the media. It just needed someone patient enough to listen. Someone quiet enough to let the evidence speak for itself. Someone willing to do the meticulous work of documentation and verification. That's all truth ever needs. A witness who's willing to be patient. Who's willing to wait. Who's willing to let the data speak. I walk out of that hospital building, not defeated but victorious. Not broken but whole. Not silenced but finally heard. And I know that every person who comes after me will have a safer system. Better protections. A hospital that actually works the way it's supposed to. That's a victory worth everything I had to endure to achieve it.